Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2675. So out of the 11 Star Wars feature films, 2 of them have not had any deleted scenes released. So we'll start off with a bit of a trivia question. Think about those 2 while we kick through the opening music. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, of the 11 feature films in Star Wars as it stands today, only 2 of them have not had deleted scenes released. One of them is the most recent one, The Rise of Skywalker, and the other is Rogue One. Now the reason we're talking about this is because this is a What to Watch Now day on the show, and I recalled that The Rise of Skywalker was being released without any deleted scenes going along with it, and people were not happy with that. We wanted deleted scenes, we wanted to check out what was going on, and I saw, references online to the fact that there were reshoots and this, that, and the other happening, but there was no real explanation for why they didn't do it. And they don't necessarily owe us anything like that. It's only that they've done it in past movies, and it's always, rather interesting and entertaining to see these things. But, I guess there's also a market for second guessing that happens too. And so, if you want to consider deleted scenes, basically you have to consider the novelizations either by Ray Carson for the adult novelization, or Michael Kagi, apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name right, for the junior novelization. And there are, some articles out there that will talk about things that appear in the books that don't appear in the movies. And with Rogue One, well, it's hard not to consider Rogue One along with Solo: A Star Wars Story, where they were quote-unquote troubled productions, simply meaning that they had to reshoot a bunch of stuff, okay? So let's not put any more spin on it than that. And so the Solo: A Star Wars Story appearance on Disney Plus comes with a lot of deleted scenes, and that's great and wonderful. Rogue One does not, but there was an interview done with Gareth Edwards way back when, and he said that as far as Rogue One goes, there weren't any scenes that were deleted. Like the stuff that they had on the cutting room floor was little bits of scenes, and he thought that it wouldn't necessarily mean anything to anyone, and so there was no conventional deleted scene situation for the movie. And on the one hand, sure, that's the case. And on the other hand, we know that they reshot the entire third act. So there have to be some deleted scenes. But, maybe the philosophy around that is that when they have deleted scenes, they're scenes that still essentially take place within the story and still kind of follow the line of the story. And it's just that they cut the scene because they didn't think that it was really serving the broader narrative purpose, or they needed to cut something for time, and that was one of the least offensive things to cut, that sort of thing. But because I'd been talking about Rogue One yesterday in our Star Wars Stories or Scary Stories episode, and reflecting back and realizing that I didn't mention anything about the hallway scene at the end of Rogue One, because that's another scary situation for sure. I got to thinking about Rogue One, and all of the scenes that we saw in trailers and commercials, and those were the real indicators of the fact that there was an entirely different third act to the movie that we never got to see. And it turns out that there are collections of them. There are folks who have gone through all of the commercials, all the teasers and trailers, and picked out the scenes, like whether it's, just a couple of seconds of action or a couple of seconds of somebody staring menacingly at something, like that stuff. There are folks who have put together all of those little bits and made videos out of them, which is fantastic. And so basically the What to Watch Now that I'm flagging is one of those Rogue One collection videos. It only lasts for a couple minutes, so it's not going to take a lot of time out of your day. But man, it does really, surprise you what kind of reworking they did with that whole situation. For one thing, it makes you wonder how on earth they possibly could have escaped Scarif. I mean, them running along the beaches and the AT-ACTs, I should say, and not AT-ATs, firing at them on the beaches. Like, how did they get off the planet in that original version of the story? And the shots of the stormtroopers wading through the crystalline blue waters on Scarif. But I'm focusing on that. There are a lot of other shots as well, stuff with Vader, stuff with Krennic, and so on and so forth. So I will link to that video at the blog post for the show's episode at sw7x7.com, and also in the show notes too, so you can check it out. I thought it was really cool. And of course, that TIE fighter like dramatically rising up to face Jyn Erso as she stumbles along that catwalk toward the end of the movie too. Right, yeah, that too. And circling back to The Rise of Skywalker, as far as deleted scenes, there's only one that I've ever seen actually talked about, and it's a really dark one apparently, and I'll explain what the deal is with that. But first, I do want to take a moment to say thank you to the folks at cufflinks.com for partnering with us on the podcast this month. It turns out that I already owned a Porg tie, which I'm wearing on the video version of the podcast. So I'm just telling you that in case you're listening to the audio version of it. And I mentioned over a few of these episodes with the Mandalorian stuff how I was creating an accessory suite, right? So it was really Star Wars-ifying an outfit, basically. Well, it turns out the folks at cufflinks.com also have Porg cufflinks. I suppose I shouldn't have been surprised. They are the only officially licensed exclusive provider of Star Wars cufflinks, and they have so much more, and also from a host of other brands too. And thanks to our partnership with them, you can get 15% off any order. Doesn't have to be Star Wars, no minimums. It's all over the site at cufflinks.com. Just use promo code SW7X715 with your order. Again, that is promo code SW7X715 at checkout at cufflinks.com. So the deleted scene I've seen talked about online with The Rise of Skywalker, the really dark one. Apparently, after Chewbacca is captured by the First Order on Pasaana, Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, tortures Chewbacca on the First Order starship. So yeah, that's pretty awful for sure. And Eunice Sutomo has talked about how it was a very difficult scene to shoot, and how Adam Driver apparently went kind of method actor on it so that he could really be, as bad as he needed to be for it. And that was a really difficult situation. And we know, of course, having watched the movie, that he's ultimately going to be redeemed. And I don't know if you could have felt like a redemption was warranted or earned if he had done that to Chewbacca in the movie, if they'd left that in the movie. Now, of course, the parallel discussion is, well, gee, Darth Vader tried to carbon freeze Luke and cut off his hand and turn him over to the dark side of the Force, but that was a whole movie and a year previous, right? And even though they had a lightsaber battle, it wasn't nearly as bad, and Luke was the one who was really giving Vader the business in Return of the Jedi. So the redemption there you could see being earned a lot more. So personally, I think, yeah, I'm glad that scene was cut for sure. But I'd love to hear what you think. If you think it should have been in there after all, or if you're glad they cut it too, let me know wherever you see a comment section around this post, or at home base for the show at sw7x7.com. I'd love to hear what you think about those Rogue One deleted scenes too. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the show today. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.